Ready for Thanksgiving? I am, man. I'm super excited for Thanksgiving. Hey, let me double check my end. 20.
And yeah, Thanksgiving's this week. Got a lot of plans, and I'm already hungry just thinking about it. HD, welcome on in. As always, I am here live on YouTube, and I think else you're live on Twitch and YouTube right now.
Yes, yes. I had to restart my stream. I was hitting a couple frame issues, but those should be gone now. We should be good to go. So
Awesome.
I don't know what was happening there, but it is fixed. It is fixed.
Crash, how you doing?
So
Episode 20. I can't, dude. Like, let's just talk about that for just one
sure.
second. Like, who would have thought 20?
If you told me we had 20 episodes, I would have guessed we'd be like a year into it, doing maybe
Yes.
one or two a month. I didn't think we were gonna keep
Yeah.
the weekly thing going.
I know, like I thought that was the plan, like 1 or 2 a week, and then it's just like, oh well, we didn't get to this week, so let's just do another one right after,
Yep.
and it's just been a weekly thing. Maybe eventually we'll go down to 2 a month. I don't know, but if we do go down to 2 a month, it's not because we ran out of things to talk about. That's for sure. So it's been lovely doing this every week with all of you. It's been really good. JCP, welcome on in. Yo, bro, great videos, AOC and New World. Thank you, dude. Thank you. Crash says it's the only thing keeping you going. We're glad to keep you motivated. We got to keep each other motivated, man. That's the thing. That's why this is like a podcast with you, the voices of Verra, and us. Is like we're just imagine us just sitting in a tavern and we're just talking about this imaginary game. And to kind of skip ahead here, we have something very special planned. Today we're gonna be reacting to someone that's in the chat, Ashes of Relation. So Ashes of Relation, he's been here, I want to say since episode 1.
Yes.
I want to say since episode 1. So he's been an avid watcher. I don't think he's missed us live once. Maybe if he did, it was one time, if that. Always great support from that guy, and he does good videos. I've watched a couple. This one I haven't watched. I forgot which one I watched like in full. There was a really good one. I was like, oh, that's really good. Um, this one I haven't watched, but this one actually was brought. This video, so I told Relation to send us a video, and this one I think was also recommended by Vladis when I was a guest on his podcast. So I'm really excited. The expectations are high, no pressure. If I hate it, I'm gonna tell everybody. um, Relation says, dude, after watching the first few of these podcasts, I knew this would be a staple. Thanks for keeping it up. Thank you, dude. JCP says, I played New World for a few months before season 1 came out. Is it worth to come back for season 4, or did you miss too much? No. Perfect time to come back. It's the perfect time to start New World. It's Elsa and I's like favorite game right now. It's just so fun. It's just
It's so
they
much fun.
finally they finally got it to where it needed to be. You know, it's finally there to where I can comfortably recommend it to people.
Yep. So before we before we go into the review of Ashes of Relations video,
Mhm.
we have a few things that we want to try and cover. I wanted to provide. I was thinking maybe we start doing an outline of things so people kind of know what to look forward to potentially.
Mhm.
We want to cover this if we have enough time. Like this comes first. Ashes of Relations definitely comes first, and then after that, we're potentially going to look into the artisan classes, like or the different classes
Oh
and
yeah,
everything,
yeah,
because the
yeah.
next live stream will be covering that, and that segues into what I wanted to talk about first. Nice. So last week you made a bold prediction. It was the
Yeah.
boldest of bold predictions. I love you for it. I think it's amazing that you went out on a limb with your take. Uh, but you were wrong. And I thought, and it's okay, like we're all wrong on stuff, but I thought it would be fun to make this into a game. Okay. And so hear me out here. Whoever has the best Sentinel joke during this podcast will be invited onto a Voices of Verra podcast in the future to hang out with us and participate with it. So whether it's my stream, whether it's Nice's, the best Sentinel related joke, like whether it involves Nice or whatever, yeah, you could be on a future podcast. We'll try and get one set up for you, and you guys can hop on and participate with us. So yeah, what do you
I
think,
would
Nice?
like to say for the record, we don't know if I'm wrong yet. We don't know if I'm
That's
wrong yet.
true.
The stream,
That's
the
true.
stream guess is wrong.
Yeah.
My main thing is that is a dual archetype, maybe a sentinel, but that is definitely a dual archetype. That,
Okay.
and I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. Let's see. So do we want to start do we want to do a topic and then jump into the video? Like maybe touch one topic, or do you want to go straight into the react and viewing?
So that's up to you. Last week we said we were definitely going to cover Ashes of Relations video, so I think it makes
Yeah.
sense that we do his first,
Yes.
and then yeah, covering the artist and stuff, so people kind of know what to look forward to for the live stream. I think makes a lot of sense, and then whatever happens after happens after. So
Okay, let's see. All right, so I have the video pulled up. So what we're gonna do, chat, is share my screen with else. Let's see, how do I Discord? Share your screen. Yep, let's share this. And let's go live, and you should be able to see my screen now.
yep. Let me pop this out here. There we go.
All right. Demon Hunter says Crafton Nice was wrong because Steven loves to revisit other systems. I already knew it was gonna be Ranger. Wait, what? Crafton Nice was wrong. I don't know. Hey, and also for the record, it will be a Sentinel that's doing all the crafting. I bet you. No, I'm playing.
Man. Okay. Will I be able to hear the audio on this? That's the question.
Oh, that's a really good question. You should be able to.
Push play real quick,
Here,
and I'll see if I can.
I'll turn. I hope that volume's not too loud. I'll see.
Yeah, let me check OBS too here. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Computer, play. Why won't it play? What the heck?
Why is there a llama here? What do
yeah.
the llamas have to do with war
I
story?
got
That's
it.
good.
Yep.
Why is there?
Okay.
Why is there?
All right. So, before we get into this, let's do another proper introduction. So, that it wasn't going to be Ranger. Gotcha. So, let's do a proper introduction here. So this video, once again, is from Ashes of Relation. If you would like to check this video out on his page, give it the proper support it does, make sure you go by and leave a like. It is on his page. He's in chat. Just click the link. Matter of fact, what I will do is go ahead and pin one of his comments so that it's easier for our later viewers to find it. I'll pin that one. I like that message. And that way, if you guys want to subscribe to him, that would mean a lot. If we could see his subscriber count jump even 5, anything higher after this stream, that would mean a lot to me and else, just to show that,
Yes.
we're one community, which we all support each other. So if you guys haven't, make sure you subscribe to him. This is his video. Without further ado, I'll go ahead and hit the play button. Anything you want to say else before we get into this?
No, I'm ready. I've intentionally not seen this one so we can do a live reaction for it. So
perfect. I'll hit the pause button whenever we want to pause for discussion. If you obviously just yell at me if you want to say, hey, stop right there, or whatever.
Sure.
So let's get it. Oh, by the way, title of this video is, if I remember correctly, what if this doesn't work in Ashes of Creation? Let's get into it.
Why is there a llama here? What do llamas have to do with war strategy? Have llamas been ridden into battle? I don't think so. And how does all of this relate to siege strategy in Ashes of Creation? Let's talk about it. And one mechanic I strongly disagree with in Ashes of Creation on this week's visit to the Copium Clinic.
Oh, disagrees
but first,
with.
Background. In MMO PvP, there's usually some kind of point
world.
capture mechanic, where the longer you stand in an area determines if you capture the point. Let's say this circle is what the two teams are trying to capture, the red team and the green team. It usually ends up looking like this.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna pause real quick, even though I'm immersed in this. Great editing, by the way.
Yes.
Very amazing editing. So I pride myself on, I don't think my editing's bad, obviously. I'm what I call a minimalist when it comes to editing. I record a voice, try to make some good points, open up topics of discussion, background footage, gameplay, boom, you have it. And some slight editing. This is what I refer to as next level editing, and this is really, really good. Like really good. So
absolutely. Yeah, I'm the exact same way. I do very minimal. I do the edits to where I do the voice clipping. I make sure that the footage looks decent, but outside of that, like my editing is very, very bad. Like Sawman makes fun of me all the time for my editing. So this is way better than mine. So hats off, like really good. So
yeah, I'm gonna actually shrink myself in the corner chat so you guys can see more of it. All right, and we're good.
You've got thick boys in the middle brawling it out. They're the ones with high armor and high HP. The support and DPS classes are usually on the outside because to min-max their builds, they have to sacrifice armor and HP.
Yes.
So if they get close to the point, they usually don't live long. This is what's called the back line. Both teams duke it out, and eventually one side wins. But if the green team is coordinated, they'll attack the red back line. The plan here is to quickly kill the light armor users, then the red thick boys don't have any support, and it'll be easier to kill.
Yeah.
This was a common tactic in New World. You can see my buddy here who recorded the VOD is hanging out in our back line, while the heavies are fighting on point.
Yeah.
Up until this point, the guilds we fought would send a group of like 5 people to our backline. We disposed of them pretty easily. A guild we fought later, though, started sending a large chunk of their army to our backline. It was like 20 people. They'd come in like a freight train and wreak havoc back there. All of our builds in the backline were meant to support the front line, so we'd get thrashed. Then our front line would get wiped because they didn't have the support.
Yep.
Depending on respawn timers, this would cause us to lose the point. This went on for a while. One day before war, I talked with my guys about something I saw growing up in the Pacific Northwest. One of my friends had a sheep farm. He said they kept a llama with the herd for protection. Apparently they'd had sheepdogs before, but the dogs would freak out the sheep. Llamas, on the other hand, would seamlessly integrate with the herd. They'd also protect the herd from coyotes and foxes. You wouldn't guess it, but they can get pretty aggressive.
Interesting.
So I've heard about this with donkeys. I've never
They
heard about it
also
with
spit.
llamas.
I did not know that was a thing. And who the hell seen this transition coming, by the way? Solomon has top tier editing. He does indeed. AC,
really does.
welcome on in. Llamas are the harbingers of war, indeed.
But they have the ability to regurgitate food and gastric juices from their stomach, so it's not just saliva.
Like doing stuff. Whitney, you are not helping the situation.
What was that?
He just spit on her.
Oh. Ugh.
Please get the wipes. Where are the wipes?
So I proposed a strategy to my guys where the backline calls out the word llamas and the whole army turns to kill the guys hitting our backline.
Oh, nice.
They
Okay.
laughed and then agreed to try it out.
Just rotate A, push them off. Look to Cross, you're fighting Tootie there, fighting in that back line. Whoever's on, look to Cross. Get him there. Nice work, team.
Llama's on A, guys.
Need some more feet on A.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
and no, clear the back line first. Clear the back line first, then push up. You've got one more. That guy dies and then push up. Left side of point. Pressure on the point.
No, let's go right.
Right side.
Go right.
Path of least resistance. Get up and get toes on. Start clearing them off. There's not that many there. Alpha, Charlie's okay. There's a couple of people fighting at Charlie. Group 7, are you comfortable there with how many you have? Or would you like one more group?
As you can see, it worked
That
like
made
a
a
charm.
difference. Here,
It
I'm
became a
actually
staple
gonna,
in our callouts.
Here, let me bring this back a little bit.
More on left side of B.
Yo, Llama, B, Llama.
Actually, he has another example. I'll just let this one play out.
B. Yep. Llama's B.
I'll pause it right here. So the example as he was talking about is perfectly shown here. So B, that's the objective. That's where you would think everyone's just, you know, supposed to sit on. And then you got this huge group of red that's flanking to our view, our perspective on the left side. Instead of just letting them chill back there, then like, oh, keep the heavies on point. We'll take it. No, like they go ahead and send everyone off the point. There's probably going to be a couple of people that remain.
Good call, Thug.
Just to go ahead and get rid of those guys because it's worth it.
It worked so well that they started bringing their entire army into our backline.
Big group coming up right here. Big grab ball. Going in.
It didn't really work out for them because that puts them farther away from their spawn points, makes them run through danger, but it was the only response they had to our llamas. In the next clip, you can hear
To
their
our
shot
llamas.
color being affected by it. I've shown this clip before, but now you'll have more context.
Yep. Jay Burns. Burns Jay, kill him.
And Burns Jay.
I got 5 people on him.
He didn't have 5 people on him, he had 5 llamas on him.
Why are those things so cute, by the way?
We all came up with strategies.
Creepy, though.
Some worked and some didn't. I had my fair share of bad ideas, but we'd talk about it after and adapt. The trial and error aspect of it with my guild made it fun.
Why does this one in the middle look really creepy compared to the others? Like it's a whole different kind of animal.
He's growing like
this
a
one-
friggin' full goatee and everything.
Yeah, like you could tell he's the leader, and he's centered now. Like he's definitely the leader of llamas.
The king.
Like, yeah, that's definitely the king of llamas right there. By the way, that footage made me realize, Else, like it's crazy how so most of you guys that's here in chat, you know, Else and I are New World mains, and we do OPR, we do 3v3 arenas. We do not do wars.
No,
we have not
we do not.
done that whole part of the game. As avid PvP enjoyers, and wars being the biggest, I would say, PvP thing, it's not in our core gameplay loop at all. Definitely something I'm looking to change soon to see that side of PvP things. It's
Yes.
a big fight, be big fight. We like the small scale or the outnumbered PvP kind of battles. That doesn't mean there's no place for us in wars. You know, we'd be in a group of 5 to hit the back lines and take out the llamas. So it could still, but I think it'll be a fun, large scale experience to experience.
Yeah.
Fun duels last night. Yeah.
Well, to compound on what the Ash of Relations talking about in this video, there's a lot of strategies that he employs here that we apply in OPR, that we apply in 3v3, just on a much smaller scale. It's, you know, finding the heal. Like oftentimes your prioritization is the squishiest person first, because typically the squishiest person is the one doing the most damage. They're the quickest to go down. So if we see a fire staff that's not kiting, they get a little bit too close to us, they're going down first. And once they go down, if it's a tanky bruiser and a healer, we're going to focus the healer. Or, you know, if it's a higher damage dealing guy, like we're just going to kind of poke and prod and just kind of figure out who's taking what damage. But yeah, that priority of targets goes across like multiple different game modes. Even if you've not played New World or whatever, like this is the same thing in ESO. There wasn't so much a front or back line in ESO. Everybody just kind of grouped together. There were snipers in the back, but you did the same thing. You take out the squishies first, then you take out the priority targets, and then the tankiest guys that had the least impact without a group were last. So makes a lot of sense.
And this is something we've talked about on the channel before. Like Ashes of Creation, I predicted being a game to kind of make a lot of players adapt their mindset. What do I mean by that? I mean, like the people that were pure PvEers, well, you're going to have to do some sort of PvP. PvP is going to be in some way affecting your gameplay, whether that be maybe you only PvP when it's time to defend the node or whatever, or maybe you just need to defend yourself out in the wild, whatever the case may be. It's going to you're going to have to change. I'm a solo, small scale, outnumbered PvP fella. Well, maybe Ashes of Creation is going to make me have to do this large scale combat. And I don't mean make me have to, because I want to do it. Sounds so fun. And I loved it. If you compare it, the ESO large battles, So that being said, I think there's still going to be a place for me in that sense. Like Elsa and I talked one podcast, like if he's on his rogue fighter hitting the back line, that isn't like basically what I'm trying to say is just because like we're like small guild or small group players, we might still have place in a large group, you know, but we'll play to our strengths. Like he'll be on his rogue fighter, we're hitting the back line. I'm on my fighter tank or my ranger hitting the back line with them, and you know, we can
Yep.
still have place in war strats like what's discussed in this video. It's always going to be important, and the meta is going to constantly be changing. And yeah, I can't wait to shoutcast or shot call like my first siege or whatever. I think that's going to be fun, like min maxing
Yeah.
strategies. And yeah,
I've talked about this in videos on ESO, but like, you know, people like, I'm sure you got the same thing. Nice. Like people would comment and they'd be like, well, what value does a 2 or 3 man group tower humping outside of a keep have? And it's like, we're literally keeping 10, 15, 20 people fighting us in this tower. Like we're killing a couple people, win or lose, like whatever. But that's 20 people that our big guild does not have to fight. And there were so many times where we would draw so much attention that we were just running for our lives for as long as possible. And then we look at the map and we're like 1 keep away from crowning emperor. And it's the same thing in OPRs. Like Nice and I'll go to OPR and we go to back cap a keep. And sometimes we just have 10 people killing us nonstop. And it's so annoying. We're just sitting there and we're like, oh my God, they got fucking machine guns up on the wall. They're dropping oils down on us. Like there's nothing we can do because there's 10 of them. But the thing is those 10 people are not pushing the other outposts, and we'll win a lot of those fights because 2 people are distracting 10. And so a small group still can have an impact in those types of things, whether we're pushing back lines, trying to take out healers or whatever, or pushing a smaller point and really commanding attention from a group much larger than ours. And yeah, we'll have that sort of impact, which will be great. So
yeah, we talk about that all the time in chat on New World, like just how big of a difference those back catchers make. And I know you and I, we both get annoyed. Like we're in a 2 or 3 man squad just responsible for back capping. That means our team literally has to just worry about our home objective because it's 3 objectives, like in most game modes, most games. And then there's mid, and that's the constant fight mid. And we're constantly hitting their base. So they got to worry about us. They don't get to just spawn and run back and throw bodies at mid. They have to worry about these guys, just us being the annoyance, beating down their walls, killing them on the way. And even if we're never successful in taking that fort, like El said, knowing that we distracted 10 people that long, and we do not go down easy. So just knowing that we kept those 5 people, that's 5 less people to help. That's maybe even a healer that's not at point. It makes a huge difference. So hell, there's been times on ESO where I just played a troll tank, just no damage, can't kill anyone, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm an asshole, but like I'd play like else like a Oaken Soul tank back, like first Oaken Soul, like where you just had dumb easy buffs and alt gens on a Dragonite, and I'll sit in between like an outpost and a keep, and knowing that I distracted a 20 man or a 12 to 20 man group for that long, like, did I kill anybody? Oh, you just wasted time. You end up no. That is 20 people I kept from attacking the keep and getting organized. They worried about me on the side, focusing on their DPS. It's like using a taunt in PvP actually works when that happens. Like, if people are chasing Else around a tower, Else activated a taunt. Now they're not taking the Emperor keeps. It makes a difference.
And people then comment, they're like, we would just ignore you. You're not going to do anything sitting in the tower. And I'm like, yeah, I would. If you're going to ignore me, I'm going to take the freaking keep. I could take keeps with 2 people. Like me and my buddy have taken keeps before just with the 2 of us. And so it's like, yeah, if you're not going to do this, I'm going to take the keep. And then you're going to have surrendered one of your home keeps to 2 people. And then it's going to be harder to get us out because now we're in a keep. And so regardless, like you have to deal with that entire situation. And so, yeah, it's always funny. no matter how large scale the war is, especially with like what Steven's talking about, they want to have strategic points where potentially smaller groups will go in and everything. And yeah, skill is skill, whether it's a small scale, large scale environment, like being able to survive and like knowing the situation you're putting yourself in is valuable. And so, yeah, this is one of those aspects of Ashes of Creation like I'm not used to, but I'm so excited for. I'm so excited for this aspect of it. So,
I love the part that I've been paused on for about 5 minutes here. It's just a good background. Here, I'll catch up with chat before we move forward really quick. Natus says, "Are you taking in account third types of supports like bards?" Yeah, I think that's something we can expect to be on the outskirts of the clump, similar to how a healer would be, maybe even a fire staff or a range, any kind of range. I imagine the clerics and stuff, the bards would be sitting back there. Maybe clerics closer to point, bards sitting in the back, depending on how ranged the skills are or the radius of the buffs and stuff like that. You never know.
Yep.
And that's another thing with a 64 class system, min-maxing like comps is going to be fun. Like I never want to get so hardcore to where I'm telling people like, no, we need a bard tank because I got this strategy that needs but like getting what you get. Like if 10 people come to me saying, hey, I need you guys. The mayor tells me, hey, our node's being sieged. You take your 10 man. You don't need to be Zerg v Zerg. Take your 10 man and just keep hitting their back line. Knock out those trebuchets. Distract them. Well, that's where I'm going to be like, all right, what we got in group? All right, we got 2 Rangers. All right, you guys make sure you stay in the back. Don't even worry about getting close. We can heal ourselves, blah, blah, blah. Like D-Quack says here, self-sufficient kill squads are the most fun role, not going to lie. Yeah,
100%.
dude, like, I mean, in a perfect world, yeah, sure, we get a cleric or a bard to come back there with us, but I mean, if, we don't know how self-healing is going to work without a cleric in Ashes of Creation, but if you can be self-sufficient and like really good and need less people to accomplish the same goal, that could be something that turns the tide in a node siege, honestly.
Yes.
Ashes of Relation says, we were always looking for high skill players. We would adapt our strategy to the guys we had, used high skill management dudes like you and Else a lot. Nice. Agree, ESO Zero was about distraction. Look here while we take a keep. Right. AOC might be look here while sieging a node so your caravans can be less defended. Yeah, Falco, welcome on in. Hey Hounds, welcome on in, buddy. Maybe they will be somewhere in the middle. I imagine them as an AoE buff class, but you have to be that's true. I can imagine a bard being in the middle, and with bard providing so many buffs, I'm sure a lot of those might be mitigation buffs, so maybe they can be pretty self-sufficient. They can like obviously not tank levels of mitigation, but they can hold their own, kind of make sure that they're spreading their buffs out to that backline, making sure those mages or those rangers are getting those damage buffs, but moving closer to the clump that's on the point to get those. But all right, let's stop staring at llamas, chat. Let's move forward. Yeah, CC removal. Yeah, that's gonna be really important.
Sometimes you don't realize you're in the good old days when they're happening. What does this have to do with Ashes of Creation? Is Intrepid putting llamas in the game? As a matter of fact,
you better have a llama
plus
mount.
A turtle together. That's how I designed.
In Node and Castle Sieges, there's going to be all kind of strategies people try. Rive Genesis is an Ashes creator who inspired me to start my own channel. One of my favorite videos of his is on siege theory crafting. He talks about large-scale PvP fundamentals and some likely strategies. I highly recommend this video. It's fun to think about different tactics that'll evolve over time in the game. Focus firing, positioning, how you use your dragon riders, the list goes on. Steven says there will be small instance objectives.
There's also going to be opportunities for smaller, more niche groups to participate in more focused objective capturing, right? And a part of that is going to be, small, very short, kind of 10-minute long instance battles where groups can go and participate against other groups that are defender versus attacker, and the outcome of which will influence certain aspects of the overall battle while that's still occurring in the background.
That sounds awesome. I think a lot of people want content like this. Is There No One Else says something to this effect on the Voices of Verra podcast.
That's me. And I think there's plenty of cases where a small 10-man group that's coordinated really well. Like think of like the Myrmidons in Troy, you know, where Achilles is leading a small group and just literally dominating by, you know, their group being good.
Yeah.
I could see that potentially being a situation. Sorry, I got really nerdy there.
Steven talks about castle siege
I did get
mechanics
nerdy
more,
there.
and here's where I disagree.
We haven't determined that that castle sieges will be instanced yet. And as a matter of fact, right now they're in the open world. So you could have people who pass by, see there's a castle siege in progress, and just jump in and participate for funsies. The same could be true also for when a castle's owned by a guild and assaulted by another guild. You could see some players participate in that siege if they're not registered.
So as of right now, castle sieges are not instanced. This means any number of people can show up to the castle to fight, which is going to be taken advantage of by big guilds, but I'll get to that in a sec. The term Zerging originates from StarCraft. I guarantee it was in Prima's strategy guide. The Zerg are one of the races you can choose. They're best known for the strategy where they pump out big numbers of insects, which can overwhelm your opponent. Here's Steven talking about Zerging and castle sieges.
You know, Zerging is always a problem in a lot of these MMORPGs where you really can't control the number of participants in certain open world systems, right? And in that sense, you know, instancing is a great tool that designers can sometimes use to curate a particular number of participants that you want. But the predominant amount of content within Ashes of Creation, over 80% of which is open world content. So instancing is very limited, and say that not only is it going to be a complement of numbers in the overall grand kind of battle perspective, but there's also going to be opportunities for smaller, more niche groups to participate in more focused objective capturing.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture.
Complement of numbers.
They're the same picture.
Perfect.
If you're trying to
perfect reference.
So true.
That's two interesting topics. Zerging being one, which we've discussed here on the podcast.
Oh yeah.
And what was the other one there I wanted to talk about? Instanced. Yeah. So if you don't know, like Steven said, it's most things, especially dungeons, are open world things. They're not instance based, that's gonna be so, I'm not gonna lie, that's gonna be so different for me, and it's gonna be so cool. Like no load screen, just one shared world. Something I often worry about is how that affects the difficulty of dungeons. I don't want to just see else, you know, this from New World, where especially at the beginning of the new patch, where people were farming artifacts, and so there's just 50 people on one boss, and you're just zerging the boss down. The boss obviously stands no chance because there's 50 of you. And Steven has spoken about, you know, depending on how many players are in the area, it'll get a different mechanic or whatever. I really hope they expand on that. Actually, one of my questions for Steven is how they're gonna do that, because to me, I don't think adding another mechanic, or, you know, they also stated something about, like, if you beat the previous boss like too fast, you know, the game's gonna automatically know, like, okay, y'all about that life. Let me scale this next boss up for you, depending on the speed. But I really hope they do that. For lack of a better word, enough. I really hope, like, you killed that first boss too fast. Well, this next boss, it's not just, it's gonna hit 10% harder. No, I want that thing to have 40% more health, so it stands a chance. I want it to really mean something, and I hope it's just not little minor tweaks. I want it to really make it a point of emphasis that open world bosses, patrolling bosses, dungeon bosses don't just get steamrolled because of the lack of instance dungeons. The fact that 50 of us can just go, just literally just jet into a dungeon and just run through content. And I think depending on how the scaling works, there's no percentile, there's no dial, you know, there's no number that you can just press and that can suffice to let the boss be difficult enough for 50 people. Like you won't even get to see certain mechanics with enough people.
Yep.
Zillion, welcome on in, buddy. Quantity versus quality. Yes. Demon Hunter says castle sieges are going to have a time limit for anyone wanting to participate, maybe because someone wants that scientific node to exist, so wants to defend it. That makes sense. Yeah. Else that might be almost similar to a certain ideology that we got on New World with the influence races.
Yeah.
So if there's like too many people in that zone, like it's like, hey, you got 10 seconds to turn around. There's already too many people over here participating.
Yeah.
Melfi was like, this is getting out of hand. When there was two of me on screen. All right, let's continue. More llamas.
To attack a castle owned by a big mafia guild. You show up with your army of 250 people, only to look across the battlefield and see that they have double your numbers. At that point, it doesn't matter what your strategy is.
No.
Their numbers will overwhelm yours. The game stops being about strategy, and the focus is on getting as many people as possible. Sure, you can spend...
I'm sorry, let me pause right here. So another topic of discussion, literally, and good video burns. I'm pulling topics of discussion for every 10 seconds. I'm sorry. Else, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about a group of 250 not having any shot at a group of 500? And let me steer you in the direction I kind of want you to go.
Okay.
I just realized my mic wasn't turned all the way up. So let me steer you in the direction I want you to go in terms of this 250 versus 500 not being able to have a chance.
Okay.
How has games that we've played tried to solve this? Well, let's mainly look at the Elder Scrolls Online. How do you feel about developers' attempts to limit zerging in game and punish zergs by introducing skills or sets? Maybe you throw a huge ball of gravity, and what this ball of gravity does is pulls in everyone within 10 meters and explodes after 2 seconds. And it's going to deal more damage. It's going to deal more damage based on how many people are in the area. Thus, it's an anti-zerg tool. How do you feel about introducing anti-zerg tools? And is there a way, I'll answer all that stuff. How do you feel about all that?
Okay, so this is a very interesting discussion. I think I did a video discussing this, and the specific example that Nice is talking about actually did exist in the Elder Scrolls Online, and it was called Dark Convergence. And what Dark Convergence did is when you set up a ground AoE, whether it was healing, damage dealing, or whatever, it would then pull everybody into an area, and then after a certain amount of time, it would detonate. It also had a pull 2 seconds after the first pull. So if you didn't, if you got pulled in and you didn't get out of that area in 2 seconds, you were snared, you were slow, whatever, it would pull you again. You could then coincide it with other sets with like Vicious Death, to where if somebody around you dies, you basically take like 20,000 flame damage. Your health bar is in the 30 to 35k range at this point. It's substantial. And so it was essentially an easy button. And what happened was this specific set became so powerful that if you hopped into 4v4v4 battlegrounds, 75, 80, 90% of players were running Dark Convergence because pulls are extremely powerful. It's the same thing as it's on a much smaller scale, but like Scorpion Sing in New World, for those of you guys that are following our New World content, pulls, even a pull of one person, displacing them from the spot they want to be, is extremely valuable. It is so powerful with what it can do. And so I don't like that aspect. I don't like providing easy button gear pieces. I really like what Ashes of Creation is doing in this regard. And I'm guessing Ashes of Relation is going to cover this, but we'll see. But a lot of their skills have synergies attached to it. So if a tank, they decide to lock everybody down. That's actually the cleric. If the cleric decides to use like the Chains of Justice or whatever, and then somebody else activates their AoE on top of it, it provides a more powerful effect. You can actually sleep your opponents, or you provide vulnerabilities to them, or you do damage. And so I think Ashes of Creation is providing class synergies to counteract larger groups. I do like the aspect of ESO having the ability to take on larger numbers. Like if your 5-man was good, even before Dark Convergence and stuff like that, if you coordinated your burst, like 5 people could take on 20, 25, 30 pretty easily. And so that was the cool part. And I think we're seeing the same thing with Ashes of Creation, where it's a skill-based synergy where, hey, you drop this, I drop this in the same area. We want to CC these players, or we want to lock them down, and then we're going to have our fighters go in and do this. And those types of aspects are good, and I think it will help combat larger numbers, but how much it's going to combat, I don't know. Was that a good answer?
Oh no, very good answer. And the thing is, and here's what comes to my head when you say that, those synergies, they can also be used by the group of 500.
Yeah.
So even then, the group of 250 is still at a disadvantage.
Yep.
How do I feel about giving players these tools to combat larger groups? Kind of like you said, they end up being used by default. Like they end up being used against the smaller groups. So you can give, to use that example, the dark convergence, you can give the smaller group dark convergence to pull all those people in. And then it does damage based on how many people were pulled in. So you're punished for having larger numbers, but guess what? That larger group has access to the same thing.
On a larger scale.
Yes. And something about Ashes of Creation, I hope there's things. I hope this is never tied to sets or mythics or artifacts, whatever you want to call them. I hope there's tools to combat large numbers, like really good AoEs to combat large numbers and punish players for stacking too much. But I hope it's tied to archetype kits.
Yeah.
Like if I had to bounce that as a game dev, the mage has a meteor. It's balanced because it has a 2 to 3 second cast time, and we'll say 3 seconds, right? The ground around you becomes red, signifying an enemy AoE is coming in. Well, you cast it in that spot, that location is going to glow it's going to glow red for 3 seconds while that meteor is falling down to Verra from the sky.
Sure.
And so that gives you time to get out of there. But if it hits, like if you happen to get locked down by a tank, or if you happen to get stunned, or he coordinated that perfect with his team, I want that meteor to hit, and I want that damage to be multiplied. Obviously, this is loose numbers, guys. I don't know how the damage is going to work, but I want that multiplied by 25% per player in that area. Maybe you separate it for if it's NPC, so it's balanced for PvE. You say it's 5% per NPC. 25 per player. I don't know. Just not to go into too much detail, obviously, but you get the example. I would like to see more tools like that used to combat large groups, and give the smaller group a chance. I want 1vx to be possible. I want outnumbered PvP to be possible if you work hard enough. I don't want it to be a carry like the dark convergence that we're talking about, because the same tool, we got to remember, the same tools were provided to fight large groups are the same tools that they're going to be able to use against us. So I think things scaling off how many people in the area is always going to be really good, really important.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I will say, I mean, and I know you remember this is why I'm going to bring it up, and it applies to our audience as well. But if you've ever played like solo or in a small group and you run across that large group in ESO, and like they're running towards the keep and you're running towards the other keep, and now you're changing your mind and running away from the large group, you know that 20-man group is not coordinating things like that. Like some of these people, they haven't seen a person to kill in like 5 minutes. Like it's been a long time for them. They're just steamrolling the map, whatever. And so they have an ultimate, and they're just like, I'm just going to drop a meteor. Next person, I'm going to drop a Destrold. I'm going to do this. Like, and so there's no coordination, nothing. It's just, please let me get this kill because I need to get something. And so you see this a lot with like a lot of large groups in, and the same thing happens in New World too. Like you don't get too many heart rune activations and stuff, but you still see 4 or 5 grab wells go off where they're trying to pull you in different directions. I've had
it's like, just for me.
Yeah, I've had Scorpion pull me 4 different ways at one time, and like it saved my ass because it pulled me out of one thing and then into another. And so it's just you have a lot of that happening, and that's why I'm so why I'm personally really excited about the skill-based aspect, attaching powerful synergies to skills, because yes, everybody can coordinate. Like, nice, I can run a fighter, you can run a cleric, we coordinate our AoEs, like everybody can do that. But with how we've seen large group scale PvP combat happen, not everybody's going to do it. And that sort of coordination, like large groups just don't take that into account. They're like, they think they're going to steamroll the map. And so those sorts of aspects, and the specialty resources that clerics have, that fighters are going to have with momentum and stuff like this, and rewarding you for playing your specific kit well with more healing or more damage, like those sorts of things, I think are going to be things that will help separate good players from like the average player. And how much of an impact that has, we have no idea. Like we don't know, like, will 5 people be able to kill 20 people in Ashes of Creation? I have no idea. I'm not sure. So
I really like the idea of synergies being the thing to balance those large group v group situations. So yeah, I think that's the best case scenario. Though, like I said, the large groups can use it too. But like you said, most of those large groups are just, I don't want to be rude, but let's just say they're just uncontrolled zerglings. They're not going to be as coordinated as a good player on comms, timing their the chains of restraint from the cleric to time it with the tank's ability to activate that stun. If the mage drops a lightning AoE, no, okay, so let's say the mage shoots out the ball lightning. I know if my fighter does the whirlwind blade AoE or whatever, just spin around. I know if I do that in the area, I stun all enemies, or I shock/stun all enemies. That's going to be stuff that needs to be coordinated, and I just hope there's tools like that.
Yes.
To combat the large groups. No carries, no. I found this legendary sword in a I found this legendary sword in a dungeon that lets me yank all enemies within 10 meters of me and explode for X damage. Like, I hope we don't get too lazy, and I hope that like a lot of people in chat is saying is a skill-based thing. Demon Hunter here says ESO has ball AoE group that burn everything down forever. If that happens in AOC Siege Warfare, people are going to get frustrated, so there will need to be some balance. I really hope ball groups aren't a thing. And I also hope clerics are balanced. That's not something I'm worried about right now, but healing is such a tough thing to balance in MMOs. You want healers to be useful. You don't want to neuter them. But I don't ever want healers nerfed. If I play AOC and I feel healing gets too strong, you know what I'm going to ask for? I'm not going to ask for a nerf to healing. Else, what am I going to ask for?
You're probably going to ask for defiles.
There you go. I'm going to ask for defiles to be buffed. The reduction of healing. I think they talked the fighter was going to have a couple of heal reduction modifiers in its kit. Instead of punishing the healers, just buff the things that reduce incoming healing received or something like that. Who knows? But that's something like somebody just said, the rock paper scissors aspect of it. So that's gonna be really, really cool to see. DQuack says Zerglings in StarCraft are the weakest unit and rely on the game's pathfinding to auto attack and overwhelm a better unit. It's effective until specific units are killed to use them. Nice. Yeah, that's how they got their rep. Zillan says ball groups are really only a thing in action MMOs where the heals are mostly conal/area based. Ashes will be tab target. So I have a counter argument to that. So not really a counter argument, but also an experience to kind of feed off of that. My first, because Guild Wars 2 is like a tricky one. It's hybrid combat, but it's a tab target game. Excuse me. My first experience in Guild Wars 2, open world PvP, I should say, the what was it called? World v World, because up until this point I had only done the arenas. So I went into World v World, and it's my first time. It's a completely new experience, and I got my ranger. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna sit in the back and pew pew pew. I'm thinking I'm having me a good old time, bro. I saw ball groups worse than ESO's ball group. I have not seen ball groups to the levels of Guild Wars 2 ball groups. When I tell you this was disgusting and gross, there was no hope for anybody around. So after you die, you still sit there on the ground and you could just watch. I watched them destroy everyone one by one. At some point, we got a group of like 8 together and they charged at them. They just got steamrolled. Just a bunch of, what were they? Guardians, I think it's the tank in that game, if I remember correctly. I should know. I maxed one out. Anyways, they're just casting the Aegis buff, which in that game, you don't have an active block. Block is like it's tied to a buff. And they had that thing always up on rotation. Then they're rotating. Yeah, like a swarm of locusts. Like, and then the heals, like it was just, I had no hope. Like, and they were just, I would love to hear their Discord comms because the way they were moving in such synergy, none of them ever got like 5 meters from the center person. Like it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So Spoke Mike says, I can't remember which MMO it was, but I saw some guy blow an entire raid with a single bomb. It was amazing. That is one cool thing about ESO is that you can, and I hope that's a thing in Ashes of Creation, is that there's a bomber spec, some sort of bomber class, and I just hope that it's not overpowered. I just hope that it punishes stacking. That's what I can't stress enough. I want the base damage of it to not be that great 1v1, but I want the multiplier to be insane to where, like, okay, you got 7 people in the same little 5-meter radius, it's gonna smack. I love that. I love that. All right, so back to the llamas. And once again, if you're just not joining us, we are watching Ashes of Relations video. He's in the pinned comment. If you're not subscribed to him, make sure you subscribe to him for more awesome AOC content like this. We're only about 8 minutes into this video, and it's already stemmed so much conversation. So I recommend his content for sure.
Spend time coming up with a battle plan, but your time would be better spent recruiting people to come fight for you.
Yes.
So the outcome is everyone shows up and fights in a big ball without the level of strategy a controlled 250 versus 250 siege would have. A mafia guild wouldn't have the pull that even a moderately popular streamer would have. All they have to say is, hey, come fight for me. And their massive army is unstoppable.
Yep.
You're not actually playing the game then. You're just a recruiter.
Hold on, let me bring that back.
That even a moderately popular streamer would have.
Hey, Else, moderately popular streamer. Who was that in my Discord that said something about not
Glendale, I think.
That
right?
might have. So there's like this ongoing thing with the Ashes of Creation community, where everyone's like, I'm not going to be an Asmongold server because they learned from New World and other games. Like, do not get on Asmongold server. They're waiting to make sure which server Asmongold's on because they don't want to be on there. And basically, the guy said a funny insult, which is kind of true. He was like, "Oh, don't worry about Nice and Else; they're not big enough," or something like that. And it was so hilarious. But
it's
like,
true.
because I don't even think because it's true, and I don't think he meant it that way. But it was so hilarious. I was like, maybe you gotta worry about what if I'm on your server. You know, it was hilarious.
I matter. I matter.
I matter. We'll have a following. Zillan says, Ash's video I dropped today went crazy. Ash's view might finally be back. Oh, okay. I'll have to check it out. You got to check out mine, though, that I published today, though.
Rhinodol. That's right.
Grenadol.
Rhinodol.
So there was something else he said here.
All they have to say is, hey, come fight for me.
Yeah. Who's going to come fight for us?
Yeah.
Who's going to come fight for us? I need to know how many of y'all are going to pull up to come fight for us. Not fight for us, actually. Fight with us.
Oh yeah, I'm getting my hands dirty, man. I'm frontline.
Bro, I think it'll be profitable to like start an actual business in AOC. Not no illegal like RMT stuff, but like legit a legit mafia, like a legit like we always talk about the protection racket. Like I think that would actually be profitable. Aaron says he's pulling up. You have sworn your loyalty to Rive, but an alliance might be possible. Indeed.
That's fair.
Killing, spilling, maybe they removed the video. HD says, I'll come pull up to fight you. Oh, that's crimey.
And their massive army is unstoppable. You're not actually playing the game then. You're just a recruiter. Your gear doesn't matter. Your strategy doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Not instancing these castle sieges would make the only victory condition who can get the most people. It even says for people who aren't part of the roster 250.
Oh, yeah.
Spawn points will be far away.
So there is a very famous Xbox player that everybody that played on Xbox at this point in time knows exactly who I'm talking about here. He used to run, back before hybridization happened, he used to run Light Hunting's Rage, and he ran, what did he run with the Hunting's Rage? He ran all gold Light Hunting's Rage on a Magicka Nightblade, and he would throw caltrops, and he would use a Resto staff. And so basically, and so basically he would get AoE damage, like the 20 damage per tick, and then he would get AoE healing, and that's what he would do. And he did that all the way to 5-star. Runny, rest in peace. He was one of the coolest freaking guys ever. But like, that's exactly what what Ash of Relations talking about here. For those of you guys that don't know, the Hunding set is a stamina based set, and he was using it on a Magicka character. and it didn't matter. It didn't matter because he would literally run in like a 24 or 48 man group, and he would acquire so much experience from fighting in that large group. He didn't have to min-max. He didn't have to optimize what he was doing. And in a way, he kind of was. Like, he was optimizing the amount of alliance points or experience that he was getting off of hitting as many people with caltrops and healing people with resto ult as possible. And so Ash's relation is absolutely right here. When you start to get to those large groups, people don't optimize because they don't have to. They just win by sheer numbers.
Very true. When you have that many people around you, don't matter what you're doing. You just win in sheer numbers. Yeah. Zillan said y'all need to start a guild called Be Nice or Else.
That's what this podcast was. I was thinking about calling that this podcast, but then we came up with Voices of Verra instead. So.
Oh yeah, it sure was.
Yeah, it was Be Nice or Else. Yeah.
Yeah. McCoy says, I really love these kind of discussions, and I can't wait for the AOC Alpha 2. Greetings from the Philippines. Wow, thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
The Philippines. Where's everybody at? Like, just post your like zip code, area code, and no, I'm playing. Just give us a state or country.
Yeah, social security number works just fine. That works also. Credit card
whatever
number.
you're willing to provide.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't actually do that, guys. We're kidding.
Yeah, please don't.
We're not trying to get in trouble. We're just joking.
So while we're paused here, Texas, nice. So while we're paused here, I think Ashes of Relation is going somewhere that I might disagree with. I heard him say it right before we brought the clip back. But at the same time, and I don't know this for sure, but I think this is where he's going. But at the same time, it's weird. I disagree, but I disagree, but I see his point, and I'm honestly considering it. But let's just listen.
Not instancing these castle sieges would make the only victory condition who can get the most people. Steven says for people who aren't part of the roster 250, spawn points will be far away.
Also, for when a castle's owned by a guild and assaulted by another guild, you could see some players participate in that siege if they're not registered. The problem is for being a registered attacker, you have the ability to respawn on the siege field. If you're not a registered attacker or defender and you die on the siege field, you are ported very, very far away to a very far respawn point.
How far? Like 20 minutes away? That's still 6 lives in a 2-hour siege.
Relation, how old was that interview? I haven't seen that one. How old is that one? So my thing is, and it doesn't matter what I think. I'm not designing the game actively. You know, this part time, not playing. I'm not designing the game. So the way I would do it is, and this is just a rough, feeling, but node sieges should be just non-instance open world. I want to be able to pull up and know that I can defend my node. I don't want to have FOMO and I don't want my node to be sieged while I'm online and just can't do nothing about it because something's happening in some instance thing just because I didn't register in time, just because some guild spammed up all the spots or something. That's what I don't like. I don't like not getting the opportunity to do that. I also find that it could be a cool moment. You're just out harvesting lumber and then you're chilling, then you hear these trebuchets echo in the background, and you just pull up to this node siege and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a stake in this fight. I'm not a member of that node or that guild or whatever, but oh man, I just pulled, you just jump into this random fight in the middle of nowhere. So at this node. So I like that. What I think should be instance is the castle sieges, and I think it only makes sense. So think of OPRs in New World as the node sieges, and then wars are instance in New World, and I think that system works fine. I think the castle sieges should be instance, and from my understanding, I think they are. Someone in chat correct me if I'm wrong, but it only makes sense that I don't see why they would even keep the castle sieges just normal open world. You should have to sign up, and it should be instance. You shouldn't just be able to pull up. You don't have to be a member of that guild, but you should have to sign up for it, and it be scheduled similar to how wars are scheduled in New World. At least in my opinion, because I know in the last interview Steven did with the Envious Guild, they talked about a lot of mechanics with castles, like, in these castle sieges, where you can pre-set up traps, you can actually place where your objective is and stuff like that. And things like that sound so much better in an instance-based thing.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Oh, you're talking about castles right here. Oh, okay, you talk about nodes later. Okay. Jumping in and just fighting whoever, that's devious. I love it. Just pure chaos. I'm all for it. Yeah. So yeah. So I think actually then relations like thinking the same thing. Despotic says, welcome on in Despotic. Despotic says guilds will form alliances and negate what the developers are intending. Zillion says castle sieges are instance. That's confirmed. Okay, I thought so. Guilds will form alliances and negate what the developers are intending. I don't think that's I don't think it's well, not server wide, but guilds will form alliances. There's actually a built-in alliance system. So the two largest guilds on a server can have a partnership. They've actually discussed this. It is possible. Cool thing about Ashes of Creation is you always have a way to rebel. You always have a way to rebel, even if the two biggest tycoons on the server, are running things. You have a way to get together and say, hey, I'm tired of these dudes. I'm tired of how they got the tax rate here. I'm tired, not having access to this node or not having access to this content, blah, blah, blah. Let's get together. You can actually siege a node. You don't like somebody, you can PK them. Like, there is so much, attack their caravans for a week. There's so much that I think you can do. But yes, guild alliances will happen. Large guilds will be a thing for sure.
I got a comment over here from Galwood. In EVE Online, no one would ever seriously claim that having superior numbers was unfair or bad game design. It's interesting to see some MMO players insist on this sense of fairness, like it's in Alterac Valley Battleground or something. I see a lot of fairness complaints where MMO players are worried about Zergs, but isn't that the game? So that is a very, very good point, Galwood. I do agree with you. What I will say from my perspective is I've never had an issue with people running large groups in ESO or in New World or anything like that. Like I just got steamrolled by 20 people at an influence race with hounds a couple days ago, and like it was fine. Mm-hmm. Like that's what you're supposed to do. I'm not one to complain about large groups, but what I will say is you don't want the size of the group to be too large that it takes away from how the game looks from a combat perspective, in my opinion. Like if the game is more designed, like you look at New World, for instance. New World is a lot more, it's not all single target, but the AoEs aren't as grand as ESO's AoEs, I guess to say. Mm-hmm. And so from a New World perspective, I think where New World really shines is really like in the war scenario and obviously like in OPR scenarios where it's just like 5-man groups where you actually get to see skills and stuff getting played out. The minute you start adding like 20 or 30 people into an area and you have a bunch of AoEs and debuffs going down, yes, that's the game. That's the best way to optimize it. But the combat just doesn't look as, clean or as enjoyable to watch from my perspective. Yeah. And so I don't know what if Steven is going to have like 250 v 250 or 500 v 500, the combat should be able to supplement those large groups. And if 250 people are going to steamroll you, that's part of the game. But if it's meant for 250, like try to make it avoid the ability for people to be able to run 1,000 is basically my perspective. Cause then it just kind of muddies the waters.
I don't think it's a matter of being fair.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever the argument of if it's fair. It's more so of giving fights a chance. Like you don't want the fight to be determined just by the amount of people that showed up. It's about balance and just not having fights predetermined merely by numbers. It's about given the smaller group a chance to make the fight competitive. Yeah. Even if you're a member of the large group. Me personally, I have no issues with large groups. I have no issues with people running in large groups. That is fine. I think the game needs that. I think those are the most fun and epic battles. Yes. It's not necessarily about making it fair. It's about giving the smaller group a remote chance. And it doesn't mean make the smaller group more powerful. It's just you don't want the writing to be on the wall merely because of how many people showed up. I think that's like if you're and you can look at it from a defense, defending a node siege point of view. You can look at it as, well, there's 500 of them out there, but there's 250 of us. If there's more of them, but if we can set up that choke point, so if we look on screen here on that far left of the screen, at some point in this fight, they actually fight right there. But anyways, that doorway, that gateway up there, up that little hill or whatever. What if they got a funnel through here to get to the throne room, right? Well, if you got oils placed at the top, you're going to be melting the ones that do get through, and you can hold that choke point. And unless they really time a push with all their healers, they're not going to be able to get through. And in that situation, they have more numbers, but you had a better strategy. You kept those AoEs, you kept those snares at the door so they couldn't really do anything effective. And there needs to be things like that to combat the numbers. That's what makes the game interesting. Should the smaller group always win? No. But should the larger group always be inevitably win? No. And one thing I would like to add to that, how many of us saw the movie 300?
I've seen it. Nice. I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but I wanted to let you know I've seen it a few times.
So that movie was cool. Who the hell wanted to go watch the movie 42,000? Who the hell wanted to watch the movie from the point of view of the huge empire just steamrolling all the Spartans? Like, what if that movie was like, yeah, things are going well. I got a huge empire. I got 42,000 soldiers. Hey, we got an issue over here. These 300 guys are giving us an issue. Oh, go kill them. And then they pull up with all 42,000, kill the 300 Spartans. And then the movie continues like, oh, well, that happened. So here's my love interest. And who wants to watch that movie? It's not as cool. And that's why we like outnumbered PvP. And ironically enough, that movie was a good example that the smaller group doesn't always win, if I remember correctly.
Spoilers nice.
Oh, my bad.
The movie just came out like a decade ago, so we don't want to ruin it for anybody. No, another. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't want to.
Oh no, that was it.
Okay, so the last thing I want to say about this, another application to games that we've played, there was a point in time where ESO allowed alliance transfers, or they allowed you to play on different factions. ESO is a 3-faction gameplay loop where you play on one of the 3 factions. You try to take over Cyrodiil, Crown Emperor, whatever, win gold, those sorts of things, right? Well, what a lot of people would do, a lot of people after a few years into the game would do, is they would have one character on each alliance, and they would just, what's the best way to say it? They would just ride the wave. So if red was dominating that day, they'd get off their blue, they'd get off their yellow, they'd hop on red. Red had Emp, they're going to steamroll the map. They're going to get more alliance points running with the group, taking all the keeps. Yeah. They're going to do that. Next day, yellow gets the map. Guess what? All those reds, they hop on their yellow. And then they do the exact same thing. And so what you would have is you would have these big 50, 60, 70 man groups that were all literally just fair weather fans going from one there was no faction alliance. There's no faction loyalty or anything like that. It was just me see big group, me join big group, me win. And there was no other thinking outside of that. And that is a fine strategy. It's designed in the game for it to exist. I'm not going to rip the players or anything like that. But as a game designer, if I were a game designer and I saw that sort of thing happening, it killed retention for PvP because people would hop off. Like all of a sudden they weren't fighting anybody anymore because people would either hop on the red faction or they would stop PvPing. And so if you want people enjoying a game loop, you have to find ways to at least make it kind of competitive. And so whether you're having a 250 v250, 500 v500, large groups will have the advantage of having more people. They'll have more firepower, more healing, more survival. Like they'll have everything, and that's fine. But the last thing I think as a game designer you want to have happen is have a game designed to where the only people that win are people that run in very, very large groups. And so I think once you have that, then you get a large group of people that just aren't interested in gameplay. They want to know that, like, hey, if we play well and we work towards this, yeah, maybe we only win 5% of the fights or 10% of these fights, but we can still win a couple of them because there's game designs that allow this to happen. And so, yeah, I think it's mostly just looking at it from a developer's perspective of keeping the game competitive and keeping retention there for players that to actually enjoy the combat. But
yes,
that's my perspective.
No, I don't think anybody could disagree with that. I hope not. We got a couple of quality comments in chat. Rage, how you doing, buddy? Welcome on in. Despotic here says, quality players are better than quantity players. I love it. Yes, that outnumbered PvP skill prevails attitude, not carried by your friends, you can hold your own kind of mentality. Like quality needs to prevail. I mean, there's a limit. I'm not saying if you take the 10 best players, should they beat the 50 Zerglings? Probably not, but you should feel like you have a chance. You should take out a couple with you, right? You should take down a couple with you at least. The healer perk where it bounces around a bunch of heals, but it's nice as lightning-based magic weapon that escalates and chains lightnings have, but single target, yeah. Or else it will become just pressing buttons. Yeah, and that's why skill needs to be rewarded in the game. Ash's Relation says, oh, I love this. It's not about fair, it's about compelling gameplay. Exactly.
Yep. I get
Hero
it.
moments. Yes.
That is a very well said point, Ash's Relation. You should maybe do a video talking about this.
He should. D-Quack says, nothing wrong with an intelligent, skillful, overwhelming force. They should win.
Yes.
But purely winning with lazy, just throwing bodies at something should be punishable. Yes. That's
100%.
actually a topic of discussion that we had during the, while we discussed the caravan system, like how the defenders had so much to lose and the attackers, like, can they just keep throwing bodies until the caravan successfully raided, you know? So I really hope they spawn people far away after you kill them after a failed caravan run. I do not remember that movie much more than what I just said, D-Quack. Demon Hunter wonders how far the respawn points are in castle sieges. In ESO, it takes 2 to 5 minutes to travel from one keep to another, unless there is a fort camp near. Yeah. All right, let's continue forward.
Yes.
We are really good at making a, I don't know how long this video is, about 13 minutes maybe. We're good at making a 13-minute video an hour.
Yeah, we should.
You're welcome, chat.
You get an additional 100 people to help, that's 600 lives you're adding to your side. Bad game design is meant to be abused. It's not the player's fault if the devs didn't plan well enough to fill the potholes in their game.
Yes.
The back-end programming for Ashes is stout. Unreal Engine 5 also adds strength to the game in terms of rendering large numbers of players on screen. If I were to be an enterprising individual, I would push the limits of the game. Without a cap on the number of people I could have on my side for a castle siege, I'd get a couple thousand friends to show up and help me defend my castle. I'd tell everyone to get combat pets, then I'd bring as many summoners as
We're
I could
doing
to
it
the
in
fight.
Alpha 2.
That way, not only do I win through zerging, I lag out the siege so there's no chance of them beating me. Also, no one's enjoying the game because it's a 2-hour lag fest.
Correct.
In fact, I remember hearing a story about someone doing the exact same thing.
This
People
is super
making
toxic for
coin
me, but there was a
He
tactic
did
back
it.
in the old like Chronicle 2 days.
He did
where
it.
You would lay down like thousands of single Adina across the castle field, so that when
Wow.
players would come up, they'd have to load all those individual Adina assets. it was like
Steven,
Dr. Burns, I hear you say. Why are you worried about this? It's all going to be tested in Alpha 2 and the betas. Yeah, sieges will be tested, but you don't really have skin in the game because you know your character is going to wipe, so you don't put in the same effort. It's like playing poker without money. You don't care, so you're not going to play the same as if you'd paid a $50 buy-in. You get one launch of an MMO. Hopefully it's a good one for Ashes. If streamers are on a one-sided Zerg fest telling their audience this is pinnacle gameplay, that's sad. Let's look at what happened.
Don't join this guy's server.
Leave Asmongold alone.
Leave Asmongold alone.
As if they instance it.
Is that Welps
Each
in the
side has to
corner?
muster
Yeah,
up
it was.
250
Yeah,
people
I guess he's
back.
reacting to a
They
Welps
plan,
video.
they strategize, they watch previous sieges to see what moves they could make. This makes the gear grind worth it. People will develop specific castle siege builds. It's a totally different meta, which will add variety to the game. It's way more immersive than, hey, come join my Zerg. Castle sieges will be the highest level PvP. People will shoutcast them, and they'll be big of totally different meta, which will
Hey,
add variety
relation.
to the game.
Is this supposed to be me?
Way more immersive than, hey, come join my Zerg.
Is that supposed
Castle
to be me?
sieges will be the highest level
I'm going to be
PvP.
saying that.
I
People
wasn't
will
gonna say it.
shoutcast them, and there'll be big events. It'll be why people
Try
keep
it out.
playing the
Try
game
it
so
out.
they can get
Nice.
a leg up on their castle siege opponents. Node sieges aren't instanced either. I can see Steven's reasoning behind this.
Yeah.
If you want to show up to the node siege, you can. This creates a vote by fighting system. If enough people on the server want a metropolis to go down, it's resolved by numbers.
Yeah.
Steven's talked about how these will be spread out in counters throughout the node. I'm concerned, however, with performance.
So he said something great there, something that I was saying to Despotic basically, where it's like, even those guilds cannot get but so large. Like, even if they got all these alliances, you can get enough people together and siege a node. Like, it's going to make a huge difference. I do think that the little guy can win.
Oh, yeah.
And that large guild power, while it will be powerful and it will be oppressive, and, you know, they're going to have their pull. But I think if they get toxic or if it gets like too oppressive, then people will rise up and join the fight. Everyone loves a good rebellion.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody likes a laggy game. The winners and losers both feel unsatisfied. My guess is that these sieges become instants, but with a really high cap. Mass murderer and OG 20th century Zerg strategist Joseph Stalin said, "Quantity has a quality all on its own."
Yeah.
So if you support non-instance castle sieges, you're supporting genocide. I'm just kidding. There is something to be said, though, for Zerg strategies not caring about who you are as an individual. Other types of content in Ashes, like raids, won't be instanced. But if you bring 1,000 people to do a raid, your chances of getting loot are that much less.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that more in another video. Whatever ends up happening,
That's a
I
good
hope we get to
topic.
make some fun war strategies with friends and try them out in sieges. It wasn't just that I suggested a llama strategy, which was so fun. It was that I was doing it with friends. MMOs have become single-player games. No wonder people think the genre's in decline. I can't think of a more social gameplay experience than figuring out siege tactics with your buddies. Zerg mentality ruins it. That's my diagnosis. I'll see you at our next appointment. Oh, and be careful with copium.
It's highly addictive.
Nice. Very nice.
Okay, while preparing for this video, I had a lot of fun watching llamas spit on people. So the outro today is a compilation of my favorite llamas.
No way. All right, I'm gonna pause it there.
Don't open your mouth, dude. Don't do it. Come on.
Oh, that's good. That was a good video. Wow. Okay, so one, can we spam llama in chat? Can we all just spam llama?
Well done.
Llama Tech. Shout out to Ashes of Relation. That was his video we just viewed once again. Actually, here, let me pull up his channel here on stream.
Yeah, I'm gonna go leave a like here. Just give me
Yeah,
a
I was
second.
about to say, because I don't think I liked it. Here we go.
Go.
All right, here, let me make sure you guys can see my screen. There we go. So this is his channel. Obviously, he's pinned in the comment. He's in chat. You can just click that. Might be more convenient, but yeah. Let's see. Which video was that? There it is.
Kuta, nice llama chat. Yes. Yeah, that was a very good reference. And yeah, while Nice is doing that, he brought up a lot of really good points there at the end, because a couple of differences that I've thought about with like ESO versus New World, you know, because that's the two recent MMOs we're really playing Nice, is, you know, ESO had combat metrics. And so, combat metrics is essentially, it's a program that allows you to track your incoming damage, the diseases that you have coming in, the diseases or debuffs that you have outgoing, and essentially it helps you figure out how to min-max your build quicker. Like it's a tool to help things go quicker. It doesn't mean that without testing and figuring stuff out, like you couldn't stumble across the right setup or anything. It's just like it's fast. And after a while, I mean, I'm sure you notice the same thing, Nice. Like when new sets would get incorporated, a few new sets, you knew exactly how things would get incorporated into the meta, where it was like, yep, this is going to be the thing to run. I'm going to be running this. I'm going to be doing this, and away you go. It's not the case so much in a game like New World that doesn't have those tools. Like, yes, eventually you'll stumble across it, but how many do you want to provide, like your spear, sword, and shield setup? Nice. Do you want to give an idea of how long you spent allocating attribute points to figure out how to min max that specific build?
Oh yeah, that was a lot of work put in, like constantly playing with attributes, not to mention the actual getting of gear, then figuring out, oh, should I go with more strength? Should I go with more con? What's the best skill bar layout? What's, and then after you test, you're like, oh, I have a lot of dot pressure. Like these guys are not healing. I'm going to stack more dots. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Oh, this pairs with this benchmark. If I got 150 dex, my bleeds last even longer. And if I pair this with this, the cooldown reduction, and it just all comes together. And there's no program to tell me that. I just gotta just keep testing, and yeah.
Yeah. And Ashes of Creation is going to be very close to New World in that specific regard, where you're going to have to test. You're going to have to test different buffs and debuffs. And in these group play scenarios, there's so many variables. Like figuring out your own individual damage is easy in comparing out, trying to figure out how like the best 5-man burst optimization setup is going to go. Like what 64 classes, 5 of the 64 classes do we have to run to get the most damage in one specific area as possible? Like those things are going to be fun to figure out and fun to test and fun to try and like attempt to min max. And you're going to see groups adopt different strategies. You're going to see range groups. You're going to see tanky groups. You're going to see high damage. Like you're going to see all sorts of different types of groups existing and trying to figure stuff out. And I think that's awesome. When a game is close enough balance wise to where different playstyles can shine through, it really makes the game more enjoyable to play and watch. And as long as you do those things, you're going to have an enjoyable aspect in PvP. Where that can go wrong is like what Ashes of Relation here said. If you have a mechanic designed by the developers to where overwhelming amounts of large groups of players can just dominate regardless. Like you min-max your specific build, your 10, 15, 20 man has done everything. And then people are going fucking naked and they can run 300 people into an area and they just crush you anyways. It doesn't make for an engaging game loop. It doesn't make for something exciting. And so, that's really, really good points. I just wanted to kind of talk about that at the end too.
DQuack says, heck, I saw you go through 3 or 4 minor variations from stream and videos over the course of a few weeks. Buildcrafting is yummy. Yeah. It's fun testing and min-max and stuff and finding what works for you and what works best. Something related to what else was just talking about. Build diversity is so important. So important. We've always talked about we don't want it to just be those 5 classes that the only ones that have a chance at certain content. Something that we gotta how do I word this properly? I think I could best display this with an example from yesterday. How many so Elsa and I was playing New World. We did a couple of 3v3 arenas yesterday. I don't know what it is. So New World has gotten a lot more diverse with its builds. Like I see more things, it's a pretty decent variety, some builds are, you're going to see them a lot. And that's more so the same weapon combinations because they just make sense to go together. That's fine. And some things are more popular than the other. That's fine. Some things are just strong. But for some reason yesterday, we did, I don't think I'm being hyperbolic here. I want to say it was somewhere between 8 and 10 arenas yesterday. And I think for, no, all of them. I think every arena we did yesterday had basically the same comp. There was always a healer and there was always Firestaff Blunderbuss. Just every time. And that's just not fun. I don't think it could be fun for the people doing it. Like, it's just not as, I personally wouldn't find it as rewarding, but it was the seeing of it, fighting the same kind of group every time. It's like, oh, this again. Oh, you're doing that? Okay, like the last group did. It's just like, every time. It's just like, really? You're using the Defile Blunderbuss and Flamethrower. How'd you think of that one? It's like, okay, this again. Okay, this again. All right, this again. It's just like when there's more diversity, when there's more building and theory craft, and if Ashes of Creation can make those 64 classes at least viable, I know everything can't be meta, everything can't be the strongest,
Correct.
everything's not going to end up in the top 20. But if everything could be viable and those classes can have a sense of class identity, it's going to be next level. Like, and that's a big that's a big task to tackle.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And the nice part about like what New World does in general is there are a lot of builds that are competitive enough, in my opinion. Like they're good. They're good enough to where you can run like nice. You probably ran like 4 different builds in those 8 to 10 arenas yesterday.
Yeah, I did.
You switched so many times, and like I'm running a build it's good. I wouldn't say like it's not so popular that you see everybody running it. Very, very few people are running what I'm running, but it's effective. And so there's a lot of those types of builds where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna run across this. I'm gonna run across this a lot because this is that it's clearly very strong. But at least there's tools to combat it a little bit. It's just like you wish the delta between that build and the other builds is a little bit closer so that you would just see more variety. Sometimes it's fun to hop into an arena and see 2 brawlers or see 2 bow builds or like you just encounter different builds and you have to figure out exactly how you're going to play them. But yeah, like yesterday, I mean, it was a small sample size, but yeah, it was just Fire Stat Blunderbuss. And I was like, oh, fuck. This again. Okay.
I was hoping for a bow user. Like that's how good things were bad. I was hoping for a bow user.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, absolutely. So
we're gonna try to end it here in a couple of minutes, chat. So if you guys got any last questions or whatever, we're gonna read everything else that's still left in chat, of course. But yeah, that was a really good video. Let's catch up with the voices of Verra. Despotic says theory crafted and gear progression, at least to me, will make MMO successful and add to this longevity. Yes, dude. Like, there's no better feeling than min-maxing and coming up with a build, especially when you come up with something unique. Like, that's what I like. I like coming up with something unique in a game, doing something different. It may not be the most meta or most effective. Like, when I was last playing ESO, I was playing a bow front bar, restoration staff back bar, necromancer. Like, who does that? Like, it was the weirdest thing, but I knew one thing: nobody else was doing it, and it was just really fun and yet effective. Like, I got a couple little clips and had some effectiveness, can kill people, snipe while also being able to heal myself. Is that something I'm gonna like recommend every person do? No. Is it better than a different weapon combination or a different a better class? No, but it's fun, right? And when you come up with something fun or something unique, it just when something could be made viable, it really means a lot. Let's see, something limit testing. D-Quack says, I mean, meta exists for a reason. I know y'all matched us a couple of times, but we're chasing those mirror matches where we know, we were the better group and we fought for every inch.
Sure.
Okay, gotcha. I get that.
Yeah, I don't get mad at anybody running meta at all. Like,
yeah,
like it's
just like really this again.
You just wish that you could fight more play styles. That's it.
Yeah.
Like if I had to fight Fire Staff Blunderbuss all day, then fine, I'll fight it all day.
Yeah.
Like that's just what it is. But it's a little bit more enjoyable when you encounter different play styles. So
yeah, New World, you can fight. I think it's the healer. Like when one team has a healer and the other team doesn't, that's when it's like, okay, well, we just have no chance. It's just like so fun thing is like when it's late at night and we can't get no 3v3 queues because everyone's asleep. And there's 6 of us online, like we'll be in Discord and like, hey, everybody queue up at the same time. We'll split off into groups of 3, we'll queue, and it's just us, 6 buddies just fighting each other. And we know like those are the most fun arenas. It's not because I can hear them. It's not because I won or because I lost. Like the reason it's fun is because we know each of us isn't doing like there's no resto staff in the mix likely. There's nothing like it's just a straight up brawl, just fun, just clashing, and you don't really always get that. So sometimes there can be a sense of unbalance, but that's another reason like class variety and balance and heal balance and stuff like that is so important, but that's a whole nother conversation we can constantly go over.
Oh yeah.
Ashes Relation says, huge thanks for showing my video. The Ashes community is special and you two epitomize that. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Anytime, dude. Like you got a couple that just off the title, I'm like, oh, that might be a good one to react to. But yeah, and I hope you continue to have success and continue to carve your way in the ashes of community. The ashes of community. Wow, the ashes community. And that's one thing I've noticed. The community is very welcoming, and the content creator space, especially, it's like we're all one thing, whether it comes to collabing or respecting or just communicating with each other. It's no one just like super like, oh, I'm too good, I'm on another level. Like, for the most part, the community, it has just always been so welcoming and just like really, and obviously I don't know everyone personally, but I guess I have to say this loosely, but just really good people, just really awesome. So yeah, I mean, you might be able to go down the history and find some bad apples, but like, yeah, it's just really good right now, especially. Oh, so that's a topic we didn't get to, Sandman, and I think that will be at the very top of the list for next week's episode. Sandman says, I like that you can only master one profession. It's going to add depth to the economy. Why did I even read that out loud? Because, yes, that is a huge topic. I'm going to try not to dive in that one right now, but yes, I think we both agree with you, and that is so cool. You know what? I'm doing it already. It just makes everyone need each other, and that's what it does. You can't do everything. I don't like games where you're a master crafter and you can just do everything. I need you to need somebody, and that helps the economy so much. It helps player interaction so much. It helps the social aspect of MMO so much. It's a really big deal. Demon Hunter earlier, sorry I missed this earlier, he said, I think AOC is going to look more like ESO in terms of combat, simply because it's hybrid action versus tab combat.
I agree.
It's tough. I always lean towards Guild Wars 2. It's a easy cop out, but it's so true. I gotta get else to play Guild Wars 2 one day. I don't know. New World has me so occupied. I'm having so much fun. I have no reason to even play anything else right now. But eventually towards Alpha 2, I'm going to get back on Guild Wars 2 because New World is perhaps, well, I haven't played BDO. BDO is probably even more action combat than New World. But New World is like pure action combat. Like, there's no way around. It's straight up action combat.
Yeah.
How much you got to aim. Like, it's crazy. Anyways, I'm going to want to play something a little bit more tab oriented. I don't see me going like full tab, like playing Arcade, opening that again. But Guild Wars 2 hybrid combat, I love it. So yeah, that's the only tab game. Not that I've touched a lot, but that's the only tab game. I'm like, man, this is actually fun. This is actually good. I don't even feel like I'm playing tab for the most part. So
I got a comment here from Galwood. Galwood, I just want to say, Galwood, you have some of the best comments. Like, you really do. It's awesome to see, because it always, gets Nice and I going, and it makes Nice want to talk for another 30 minutes. And he says,
oh gosh, it's about to happen.
And he says, uneven numbers is a possibility that could be applied to pretty much every PvP situation in Ashes of Creation. And I wrote, I hope it is. And he goes, yeah, so you might get zerged on a bunch, and then you'll also have those stories where you're outnumbered and still won the objective. Definitely pros and cons to it. Yeah. I just wanted to chime in on my pet peeve about large, like, people wanting a small scale. Nice, you know what really bugs me sometimes is when people want to small scale and then they get mad about getting zerged. Like, I don't understand it. Like they're like, yeah, I'm gonna fight outnumbered. I'm gonna 1vx, or I'm gonna 2vx, and I'm gonna do this, and then you die, and you're like, fucking zergs, man, this is bullshit. They just ran me down. It's like, that's what you signed up for. Like, it's not all fucking peaches and roses the whole time. Like the vast majority of time, this is what it is a large group steamrolling you. That's what makes the wins special, is because you're not going to win the majority of the fights. If you want to win the majority, run in the large group. Like, and so it's just always funny to be like, man, I got ran down, I got this. You'll never hear that come out of my mouth where, like, I can't believe I got ran down. It's like, no, like, that's what I want.
Yeah, don't get personal. Don't go whispering someone because they served you down. Like, you're by yourself. You're mad that they had more people than you. You chose not to play in a group. You chose not to be in a zerg like them. Don't get mad at them for playing an MMO with friends the way it's supposed to be. Like they just have more numbers than you. You'll catch them slipping eventually. It's all right. You'll get your revenge.
Like Hounds yesterday, he was like, "Hey man, like we're running across these groups. I should hop on my healer." And I was like, "No man, don't switch your gameplay just because we're getting steamroll. Like we got to figure this stuff out. Like play what you want to play, and we'll figure it out. We'll struggle together. It'll be fine." I'm used to dying a lot, so
yeah. Like we'll get them eventually. Like yesterday, we got that one group eventually.
Oh my god, man! Yeah,
it felt so good. I was like, man, let me switch to my regular build. Let me go to my normal build. First time I switched to it, boom, we got it.
Yeah, it was the group after Dequax that we ran across like 4 or 5 times in a row, and yeah, that one was fun.
Fox said something that I'm trying to avoid doing a video on since we're so close to another showcase, but he is so right. It's actually, I think I brought this up on an episode, but he said they haven't shown action combat in a while. So I've been doing this behind the scenes when I've had free time at work. The last time I maniacally watched Ashes of Creation was when I went through every stream looking for instances of dodge roll. So I could put it in my video. So I went back here. Let me actually bring up Ashes of Creation's YouTube. And I promise, chat, after this, we are ending the stream. Here, I'm going to share my screen shortly. Oh, am I still sharing my screen in Discord? I searched YouTube. I'm a genius.
I closed it, so.
Okay. Ashes of Creation. Let's just go to their official YouTube. So I'm so sure. Let me see. When was it? We haven't seen the hybrid camera utilized or action combat utilized since there was, I think, a small instance in the Mage Showcase where technically, like, I don't think he was tabbed when he swung his greatsword. I could be wrong, but I'm not going to count that one. But I'm pretty sure the last instance was the tank stream. Yep, right here. The tank archetype stream was the last time I think we saw them use the action camera. And even that one, I got to double check. I got to finish going through that. But I think in that stream, there was a point where they used a hybrid camera. But yeah, it's actually a concern. They showcased the hybrid targeting and camera so well during the Ranger showcase and the melee showcase, the ranged weapon in the melee showcase, that I'm surprised they got away from it. But Fox, something that gives me a little reassurance and why I'm like not too dramatic about it, and something that's kept me from doing the video, because it may just be the simple explanation of it's Steven. He's a tab target enjoyer. That's what he's more comfortable with. And if we saw him utilizing hybrid combat, maybe the gameplay will look bad. And some people like to get on him about the gameplay, which I never found so horrible that it's worth talking about. So maybe he's just going to use the targeting system that he's more comfortable with. And I think it might be that simple, because I don't think they just, took it out. So
I think it is that simple.
Yeah.
I really do. I think he's used to doing tab target, and so that's what we see as tab target, and that's one of the options.
And I think that's all there is to it. It's something I want to bring up in a video, but I don't think it's worth its own video. I don't think it's that dramatic. But yeah,
it would be interesting if we pinged the Discord maybe, and just kind of brought it up, like, hey, because this isn't the first time it's been brought up in our podcast where people have been asking about more action camera stuff. Just maybe like mentioning it to the maybe of the next developers thing that I go to. They normally do targeted stuff in the Q&As, so I can't really do that. But yeah, maybe we ping them over there and just be like, hey, people are asking a little bit about the action camera stuff. We know Steven likes to do tab, like. Maybe for the next one, show some action just so you can appease it, because that's a question we're seeing a lot.
I would like to get in on one of their office hours and bring that up. It's always while I'm at work, though. Welcome on in, by the way, Salman. It's always while I'm at work, but that I wonder if we could just add like Vacnar and Roshan, or I keep saying that wrong. They're pretty good about responding when I mention them in Discord, the community devs. But I think it's something that, like you said, it keeps getting brought up, and I think they need to do it, even if it's for a second, just to show like, hey guys, it's still there. This isn't a tab target game, because it's been sold on that hybrid, but with hybrid, you got to show a balance. You got to show both. Right now, for close to a year, it's been looking just tab target. And players that are new or just recently start following Ashes of Creation may not be aware of it. I want to say the Fighter Showcase was probably 15 months ago. Ain't that crazy to think about? But
yeah.
Well,
like I think this is the third time we've probably talked about this. So yeah, it would be worth. I think it'd be worth just bringing it up and just being like, hey, like people are asking about the action combat.
Yeah.
I know Steven comes from a tab background. I do the same thing. Like if we put ourselves in like Steven's shoes as the developer, we would go to what we feel most comfortable with, because you're streaming for 10,000 plus people. You know your video is going to get 100,000 views. You want to put your best foot forward.
Yes.
Like I totally get it. But yeah, like people want to see both, and so I get that too.
I'll actually maybe try to bring up the topic in their Discord either tonight or tomorrow, just to kind of see if anyone else feels the same way. But all right, we're gonna call it there. Before we end up at another 2-hour stream, we're just shy of it. But we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much once again.
Yes, thanks, guys.
Ashes of Relation, pin comment, make sure you subscribe to his channel for more fun videos like that. Like that was one video and he has a lot on his channel. So yeah, really appreciate you guys. Once again, make sure you subscribe to myself. Is there no one else tagged in the title? And we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the continued support.
Yep.
And we couldn't do this without you, the voices of Verra. So yeah, every Tuesday we'll be here for you.
Next week we'll be covering Artisan stuff before the live stream. So we'll try to dive into all things Artisan to see what we're potentially going to see. So
ooh, spur of the moment thing.
Uh-oh.
You know, I'll talk to you about it off stream.
Okay.
I'm about to say, how are Thursdays for you? Because the stream's on a Thursday, right?
Yes, it is on a Thursday.
How do you
let me think.
how do you feel about moving it to Thursday just for next week for like post stream?
Yeah, we could do that. We could do
I mean, if we do Tuesday, it gives us a chance to dive into a bunch of Artisan discussion before the stream. But we'll figure. We'll talk about. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
We'll
we
see
could
which
do
one
a
is best.
immediate reaction afterward. Like we did not. We've done that before. So
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we won't have an episode next Tuesday. We'll let you guys know. We'll keep you posted, and we'll just do our first impressions after the stream. Maybe that'll be a thing we do next week. But once again, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you being here, and peace.
See you guys.